9898. Birch Gold is the only.
Hey, welcome in. We're about to get a Tuesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show underway. We got big news on the Olentangy High School principal who was on administrative leave. We've got perhaps a new trial for the former Columbus police officer who was convicted in a work-related shooting. We've got news on all kinds of issues in Columbus that never seem to get fixed, but City Council virtue signals about something else. So I hear the band. Here we go. Well, you knew the people who have those advanced degrees would come up with something to insulate Olentangy High School principal Monica Asher from what she did in a memo to staff that clearly violated district policy. And I did not ever underestimate the ability of the district to form in the best possible light her post-election message to staff, where she confessed that she was not entirely sure how to tell you to move forward, which is kind of a consequential thing for a high school principal and leader to be able to do. We will get into that today. Systemic, long-standing issues in the city of Columbus rear their head overnight. One in the murder of a 19-year-old girl, apparently shot at an apartment, and another drive-by shooting. We were lucky over the weekend we didn't have a 2-year-old killed in somebody firing into a residence. It appears that is how this 19-year-old girl died. We have a lawsuit filed related to the death of 5-year-old Darnell Taylor, whose I guess custodial parents, one of whom, Pammy May, is charged with that murder. It is one of a host of issues that have involved Franklin County Children's Services, yet what was City Council's mind on last night? Virtue signaling of another sort. But we'll get to all that and the continued liberal freakout over Trump's cabinet picks and his immigration deportation plans. But first, let's start with Olentangy Orange, because it captivated a lot of you last week when we told you first and foremost that Monica Asher, the principal of Olentangy Orange High School, had sent a staff memo out, basically struggling over the outcome of the election. At least that's how I read it. That's how you read it. It attracted a massive online audience. Got a call, my wife did last night, from somebody who used to live in our area, who's now moved thousands of miles away, said he's in Florida, and they were talking about Monica Asher in Florida. So the story went national. Libs of TikTok picked it up because we were treated around the country to assorted stories of Donald Trump's victory prompting people, not just in education, but in entertainment and academia and other areas, to wig out and maybe even, in the most extreme cases, want to move out of the United States of America. So the Monica Asher story was not unique in that someone in education backed Kamala Harris, but it was local, and it was noteworthy because it occurred in a district where Delaware County, where Orange High School and Olentangy Schools is located, voted 53-46 for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. Now, I don't think that's the split in Olentangy High School. Maybe it is if you count a bunch of conservative students who have the right to vote. But nevertheless, her message coming essentially a week after the election, was unnecessary. Well, actually, I should say a violation of district policy, which they sent out in the summertime saying, hey, election's coming up. Don't take a position, remain neutral, don't even go near it in terms of how your words could be perceived. So she's clearly in violation of district policy, and they admit that in their statement today. But I'm just updating you on the background of what happened. She's back to work today. Monica Asher is back to work as principal at Orange High School. She got 3 days off. I don't know if she got a raise. I don't know if she got, a hug, but she's back at work. And here's the memo from Superintendent Todd Meyer last night. Dear Olentangy Orange High School parents, effective Tuesday, that's today, Monica Asher will return to her role as principal of Olentangy Orange High School. The district has conducted an investigation into the staff newsletter distributed by Principal Asher on November the 10th. As a reminder, the investigation took place because district policy requires employees to use discretion regarding controversial issues in their employment. Employees do not have unfettered free speech rights when serving in their official capacity. No. And the statement goes on to say that Monica Asher is supposed to maintain neutrality in our schools and classrooms on political campaigns, elections, and issues. While district staff are not required to forfeit free speech rights in their private lives, they are expected to remain respectful and never attempt to use their professional role to support or validate personal opinions. So you might be reading this and going, well, then why is she back at work? They go on to say, here you go. I told you, those big educational degrees don't go to waste for nothing. It took them a few days, and maybe they were subject to online suggestions, because I saw this in my social media responses, that Monica Asher's message wasn't divisive. Monica Asher's memo wasn't complaining, whining, triggered by the election of Donald Trump. No. That's how you read it. But what really happened, according to Todd Meyer, superintendent at Olentangy, is this, quoting again from his memo. We understand Principal Asher's intention was to remind our staff of the importance of unity and their shared commitment to creating a welcoming, inclusive environment for all. While Principal Asher violated our policies, she fully understands and acknowledges the negative impact of her message. And then they go on to wrap up. And so does this surprise me? No. Is it the right response to this issue? I think 3 days is a little light. Did I expect her to ever lose her job? Of course not. I said all along, she'd get a hug at minimum and a raise at maximum. And I'm sure quietly has been told, don't worry about it, Monica. We love you. We share your view. We know what you were trying to say. Winky, winky, winky. Here's the operative question to ask yourself. They won't ask this question publicly, but you and I both know. If Kamala Harris had won the election, would there have been a memo? Would there have been a memo about how I know you're all struggling to move forward? I can't write, this is her original newsletter, I can't write a message that pretends like the election didn't happen. Again, now we're in an alternate universe here. You're going back, you're flashing back 2 weeks ago today, actually 2 weeks ago tomorrow, because that's when I did the show telling you that Trump had won. Can you imagine she would have written a memo that said this if Kamala Harris had won the election as Trump won it? Won the popular vote, won all 7 swing states. Can you imagine that Monica Asher 4 days later would have written a memo saying this if Harris had won the election? I can't write a message that pretends like the election didn't happen, especially when so many of you are struggling with how to move forward. I know you are struggling with how to move forward with your students who are afraid, but also how to move forward with colleagues that don't share your views. There is no universe other than the one you make up in your own mind where she would have sent that memo if Kamala Harris had won the election. You know it. I know it. Todd Meyer knows it. The Olentangy School Board knows it. Every resident of the Olentangy District knows it. Everyone who has a brain knows it. She's back at work after 3 days off. And here is how she announced her return in a memo to Orange High School staff last night. This past week has been one of deep reflection for me. Please accept my sincere apology for the message contained within my State of the Pioneer staff newsletter sent November 10th and the negative impact it had. I never want to hurt any of you at any time. My reflection has also allowed me to focus on my leadership and communication. I recognize a more appropriate message would have acknowledged the staff and student concerns being voiced within our school building and reminded all of us of our duty to remain neutral and nonpartisan. Yes, in compliance with district policy. She goes on. It is my responsibility to maintain our focus on academic content standards and enforcement of the student code of conduct. Yes, that is your job. Yes, that is what I said. That her memo delved into politics, hinted at politics, approached politics, whichever one of those you want to say it did. It did, one of those. And what, as I said at the time, does that have to do with anything she's charged with doing? Anything she's charged with accomplishing on behalf of the Olentangy School District, which pays her $175,000 a year. Does it have anything to do with educating students? No, it doesn't. Does it have anything to do with relating to staff? No, it doesn't. Does it have anything to do with staying on budget? Whatever the parameters are that the treasurer of the district charges her to do with her building? No, it does not. It had no place at all in her communication with the staff. And for that, despite a warning in the summertime in a staff memo that the election is coming up and don't go over this line, she willfully went over the line. Am I to believe that she just woke up 3, 4, 5 days after the election and wrote that memo on the weekend without giving it some serious thought on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday before she sent it out? No, of course not. She thought about it and decided she had to address it. And for that, she got 3 days. She got 3 days. So there's where we are. Monica Asher's back at work. None of us are surprised. There would have been, had there been, which is hard to envision, a high school principal at Orange, at Liberty, at Berlin, or at just plain Olentangy High School who was a rabid Trump supporter, even if they didn't send a staff memo, if they wore a MAGA hat to school after the election, you think they'd be back at work in 3 days? I don't.
Afternoon, mostly cloudy, mild, couple of showers around the area. Look for high of 62. Low clouds tonight and low 50. Mostly cloudy with a shower, breezy day tomorrow, high 56. Windy and colder, some snow and rain on Thursday, 1 to 2 inches possible. High 37.
2 inches of snow. No, I vote no on snow.
Early Friday, high Friday afternoon at 42. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM. The Answer.
I'm a big no on the snow. On the snow, big no.
In sunroofs, windows, doors, decks, siding, patios, porches, basements, and bathroom remodels. Call ProView Remodeling today and get 25% off or 60 months, 0 interest. That's right, 60 months, 0 interest. Call or text 7 days a week, 614-756-3140. You win with ProView Remodeling, 614-756-3140. Check us out at ProViewRemodeling.com.
Hey folks, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at the Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PREPARE to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantage status. So text PREPARE to 989898. That's PREPARE to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
With surgery and drugs being the main options to treat chronic joint pain, that left orthopedic surgeons like Dr. Ray Tessner thinking,
geez, wouldn't it be nice if we can have another form of treatment that eliminates some of the downside and has a bigger upside as we learn more about it?
And then he found it. Regenerative medicine, an exciting, fast-growing approach to dealing with pain using healing agents from your own body.
Well, it's using the miracle benefits of the human body to help encourage healing.
Today, you'll find Dr. Tessner at QC Kinetics. Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving patients lasting relief from joint pain in their knees, hips, shoulders, and back.
It's one of the best management tools that have come around in a long time.
Finally, options other than surgery and steroids. All natural regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. Learn more. Call today for your free consultation.
Here we go. Coming back from commercial here very soon.
Columbus, or call 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
Boy, I'm not excited about snow in the forecast. Got to get my snowblade on the tractor. Looking forward to summer, and we're just starting winter. But if you're looking forward to summer too, maybe you start to make summer vacation plans. And if that's the case, mark August the 16th to the 23rd on your calendar for the Patriots Alaska cruise. Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder will be on that cruise. Maybe Dennis Prager will be back by then. Mr. Prager had a very serious fall. Remember to pray for Dennis Prager's recovery. But this cruise will go through many beautiful sites in Alaska: Glacier Bay, Juneau, Ketchikan, and scenic cruising through the Stevens Passage. Of course, there will also be great content on board. 7 days in Alaska on the Discover Holland America, which I'm sure offers you 5-star hospitality. You can find out more by going to travelwithsalem.com. That's travelwithsalem.com, and book your passage on the Patriots Alaska cruise. Just one final word on Olentangy and the reinstating and return to work of Monica Asher, the principal at Olentangy Orange High School. I remember shortly after I got the job here at The Answer 4 or 5 years ago, a woman, a very sweet older woman, and I mean like in her 70s or maybe even early 80s, a woman by the name of Tony Evans. This was during the pandemic, after kids had returned to school. So this would have been September-ish of 2021. A student, she was an aide in the school, and a student made a comment about COVID, and Tony Evans just innocently remarked, yeah, isn't it crazy, you know, the virus came here from China, and at that point in time, the Biden administration was doing something with China, and for that, a student complained, oh, racist, terrible, you know, Asian phobic commentary, which is 100% true that the virus did. All she said was it came from China. I mean, it came from Wuhan, China. She was eventually fired over that. So this is how they mete out what they consider to be justice and equal treatment in the Olentangy School District. A woman approximately age 80 who was clearly still working because she needed the money to make ends meet was summarily ostracized and dismissed by the district, even though she said something that was true, while Monica Asher returns to work after 3 days. There you go. Now, we have developments in the guilty verdict for Adam Coy, the former Columbus police officer who was convicted of murder, felonious assault, and reckless homicide on November the 5th. Officer Coy, at the time of Andre Hill's death, was investigating a suspicious person. He mistook a key ring in Andre Hill's hand for a weapon. He fired. Andre Hill died in the shooting. Andre Hill's family has been paid $10 million by the city. And Adam Coy was to be sentenced on Monday by Judge Stephen McIntosh. The smallest, the lightest sentence he could get is 15 years in prison without the possibility of parole. What was at issue in this trial is whether Adam Coy, under the parameters of the law, was justified in firing his weapon. And the big debate on this issue of was the shooting justified or was the shooting not justified was, did Adam Coy have a reasonable right to defend himself given the circumstances of his interaction with Andre Hill? Was it plausible for Adam Coy to believe that Andre Hill, through whether it was a lack of cooperation or whatever happened, whatever transpired, was it reasonable, even though obviously, Adam Coy regrets shooting him. We all regret that Andre Hill was a father and a husband and grandfather. We all regret that he's no longer with us. Was Adam Coy nevertheless reasonable? Police can make mistakes because they're not perfect, but the mistake has to be justified by police protocol. So prosecution in the case called an expert witness in these matters, and the expert witness testified, of course, for the prosecution that no, Andre Hill's actions were not justified, and no doubt that played, I don't know how big of a role, but I presume it played a big role in Andre Hill being convicted. Well, according to Coy, that's the ex-officer who was convicted, according to his attorneys, they filed a lawsuit seeking a new trial because it turns out that the prosecution in the case reached out to not just one police expert in matters of whether or not shootings are justified or not, but another whose judgment as to whether Andre Hill's shooting was justified or not justified, that report never made it into the trial record and was never shared with the defense attorneys in the case. That expert, his name is Jamie Borden, who's a retired Nevada police officer. Borden signed a sworn affidavit Monday, this according to Bethany Bruner's reporting in the Columbus Dispatch, signed a sworn affidavit that confirmed he spoke with the prosecution and gave them his opinion, at which point he was told by the prosecution that his services were no longer needed. They paid him $5,000 for his work. The other expert who testified and said, let me just say this carefully, said something the prosecution preferred to introduce in court rather than what Borden, the Nevada officer, told them. That guy received $11,000, more than twice as much as the Nevada guy. You can draw your own conclusions from that. Are the prosecutors required to share this information with the defense attorneys? Yes, they are. By a 1963 Supreme Court decision that requires prosecutors to provide any material. You hear the word exculpatory. It basically means any evidence that goes against what the prosecution wants to prove. Anything that would work to the benefit of the defendant. You're required to disclose that. Because why? Because what? Because we have in this country a presumption of innocence, right? You're innocent until proven guilty. Unless you're a Trump supporter. I added the last part. It's not in the law. But it would be if Harris won. So, if this is all true, and Bethany Bruner's solid, I've heard, I don't, it is rare that I say anything good about anybody on the news side, opinion side, at the Columbus Dispatch. But I'm told by people I trust in the police department that Bethany Bruner is an honest broker. Now, I reached out to Bethany one time on email, providing her with a tip on something, and I never saw a story or result from it. Maybe the tip was bad, but I don't think so, given the information that I was given. But for purposes of this story, I have no reason to doubt that what Bethany Bruner reports is actually true. And let me just say it this way. If it is true, and if the prosecution in this case had evidence that would have benefited Adam Coy, or why would Adam Coy have been found not guilty here? Because there would have been what? Reasonable doubt, right? Reasonable doubt. If the prosecution talks to two police experts in matters of whether a shooting is justified or not, and one of them says, nope, shooting not justified, and they pay that guy $11,000, and then they consult another expert because, hey, two's better than one, right? But the other expert says, yeah, that's a justified shoot. And they never give that information to the defense, and they pay that guy only $5,000. Well, draw your own conclusion.
State of New York adjourned without explanation this morning. The president-elect had been scheduled for sentencing in a week, but today, Judge Juan Mercado.
All right, what do we got here?
So one of the big reasons he bought Twitter/X is because he wanted to make it his own platform, remake it in his own image. And I think this really gets at it. Look at this, the party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better and more.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Procreation is in principle impossible. Marriage is irrelevant. You went on to say it was Mr. Keyes on the Channel 7 debate last Thursday night. You said, and I'm quoting you, where procreation is in principle impossible, marriage is irrelevant. You went on to say it was irrelevant and not needed. What about marriage between people who are well beyond their childbearing age? Irrelevant, not needed?
No, it's simply a misunderstanding. The word in principle means relating to the definition of, not relating to particular circumstances. So if an apple has a worm in it, the worm is not part of the definition of the apple. It doesn't change what the apple is in principle. So the fact
it retains its
it pertains. It retains. To act as if concepts are laughable means that you want to be irrational. Human beings reason.
You said it was irrelevant.
Human
and not
beings
needed.
reason by means of concepts and definition. We also make laws by means of definitions. And if you don't know how to operate with respect for those definitions, you can't make the law. An individual who is impotent or another who is infertile does not change the definition of marriage in principle, because between a man and a woman in principle, procreation is always possible. And it is that possibility which gave rise to the institution of marriage in the first place. As a matter of law, as a matter of
That's smart. Guy's smart.
As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-885-3333. That's 800-885-3333. 800-885-3333.
War has played a key role in the history of the United States, the nation's founding right down to the present. Wars made the United States independent, kept it together, increased its size, and established it as a global superpower. Hi, I'm James Early, host of the Key Battles of American History podcast. In each episode, I discuss American history through the lens of the most important battles in the United Wars. Start listening now. Go to ParthenonPodcast.com or search Key Battles of American History for your favorite
The answers at 98.9theanswer.com. Also, smart speakers, on iHeart.
Well, Christmas is coming, and I don't know what you want for Christmas. I don't know what you're going to get for Christmas, but my guess is your Christmas would be dramatically improved if somebody else agreed to make your mortgage or rent payments for you in 2025. I'm talking about all year, not just one, and that will happen if you are the winner of the 7th annual Christmas Mortgage Miracle Sweepstakes at 989theanswer.com. That's right. You will have up to $18,000 paid for you on your rent or on your mortgage if you are the grand prize winner. How do you become the grand prize winner? Well, you got to enter. How many times can you enter? Well, this is not like a Pennsylvania election. We allow you to enter once per day, and you can complete bonus entries and enter multiple times per day. Just go to 989theanswer.com and find out all the details. This is the 7th year that we have been doing this contest. People look forward to it, and I understand why. Let's enter. Not just once, but legally more than once per day at 989theanswer.com. Oh, they are very happy with themselves down at Columbus City Council chambers because last night they voted unanimously. Of course they did. They're all Democrats. They voted unanimously to establish a commission on immigrant and refugee affairs. As you might expect, Councilmember Lourdes Barrasso de Padilla teared up, according to Jordan Laird's report in the Dispatch, as she read the ordinance to establish the commission, and after it passed, the council erupted in applause. I don't know what time this took place. My guess is, I don't know where it was on the agenda, but it probably wasn't too far in front of or behind what occurred elsewhere in town last night in the 200 block of Highview Landing at around 8:50 p.m., where a 19-year-old woman was shot, apparently through the window of an apartment. She died less than 30 minutes later. And I find these two stories to be quite interesting, juxtaposed against each other, because while Columbus City Council busies itself with virtue signaling about a commission on immigrant and refugee affairs, I'm just wondering, when are they ever going to get around to doing anything about areas of our city that have been hopeless and violent and dangerous for the people who live there for decade upon decade? Do we have a Linden Commission? Do we have a Hilltop Commission? Do we have a Near East Side Commission? We have some groups that try to minister to those, but are those groups directed by City Council? Well, they might get a check or two from City Council from time to time, but those things are left to others because there's no political points to be scored in establishing a commission to study or actually do anything that benefits the long-term residents of the city of Columbus. But this Commission on Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, it'll have 15 members. They will all be appointed by the council. They will advise the city on challenges facing immigrants, refugees, and their families. And all members of the new commission will be immigrants or refugees or the children of immigrants or refugees. Now, maybe this will be an outlier. Maybe this commission will get a lot of things done. The number one thing I would want to know up front is, when we're talking about immigrants, are we talking about legal immigrants or are we talking about illegal immigrants? Because if we're talking about illegal immigrants, then I'm foursquare against this. Because if they are illegal immigrants, they don't belong here. And they need to be deported. And they need to get out. And they need to stop sucking down city resources and taking jobs away from people who are actual residents of the United States of America and legal citizens of the city of Columbus, the state of Ohio, the United States of America. So that's my first question, is, are we devoting more city resources to the approximate 100,000 illegal aliens that we have in the city of Columbus? Because if we are, that's outrageous. But here's Lourdes Barrasso de Padilla explaining the need for this Commission on Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. Now, with the ushering in of Trump and some of his policies around immigration, it has made immigrants feel unsafe. It creates an environment where you see what happened on Saturday this weekend, where we had neo-Nazis marching through our streets. Yes. I had somebody yesterday say, hey, weren't you aware there was a neo-Nazi march through the short north on Saturday? And I said, yeah, I was aware of it. Why didn't you talk about it? Does that mean you're a neo-Nazi? Does that mean you're a racist? You're extremist? I said, no, it means I have a brain in my head. Because how many neo-Nazis do you think we had marching through the short north on Saturday? I'll tell you exactly how many. 12. 12. So, Columbus, big city. I'm not going to glorify the stupidity, the hatred, the bigotry, the empty-headed, moronic aggrandizement of 12 fools, 12 cowards marching through the short north. And let me just say, if Columbus A city of over 1 million people has only 12 people who are willing to join a hateful, stupid, indefensible march like that? Then bully for Columbus that we only have a dozen of such idiots. Okay? But of course, Lords D. Perazzo is going to obsess about this and act like this is a reasonable threat to the people of the city of Columbus. I say this all the time about racial slurs and other things. When you get upset about it, when you obsess over it, fret over it, stew over it, and glorify the dignity of people who are beneath your recognition, as these neo-Nazis are, you're giving them relevance and power they do not deserve. Anyone who utters a racial slur toward you is defining themselves, not you. They are defining themselves, not you. So this is such a Democratic thing, a Democratic Party thing, a leftist thing. Oh, see, there's 12 neo-Nazis. It's all over town. Well, then why weren't there, for instance, as many people in the neo-Nazi march as there are in the Doodah parade, where people are baring their butt cheeks in leather thongs and glorifying immorality? Is that a threat to the city? Is that, oh, heavens no, that's bigotry to say that, Bruce, because they're allowed to be their authentic selves. It's okay with you for them to cavort in front of children and twerk and gyrate and all that. I'm a lot more upset. And you know what? I should be, because you should be, because that's a much bigger threat to the kids of the city of Columbus and how they formulate their thoughts when they're exposed to that stuff that their minds can't wrap around it and make sense of it. But we allow that sort of nonsense in public, and we not only allow it, we celebrate it. So it's also, as I said before, interesting to juxtapose this with the murder of the 19-year-old girl, which was probably taking place at almost the exact same time, and with another story today, which is about a lawsuit filed by the estate of 5-year-old Darnell Taylor. Now, you might remember Darnell Taylor is the young man who was suffocated and murdered by his custodial parent, Pammy May. She drove to Cleveland. She was found by Brooklyn police. Brooklyn is a suburb of Cleveland. And there's a story in the Dispatch today, again, Bethany Bruner reporting about the litany of challenges that young Darnell Taylor faced in his life, myriad health challenges and other things. But what really comes across in this story is how utterly feckless Franklin County Children's Services was in monitoring his condition, in checking up on him, in going to his house and Pammy May not coming to the door, not answering calls, not complying with court orders. They had months and months and months and months of notifications that should have alarmed them to the fact that, you know what, this is really a bad situation. Really a bad situation. They were notified by multiple caseworkers. He wasn't being taken to speech therapy sessions. He wasn't given the leg braces that he needed. His biological parents were shut completely out of the process. They'd go to the home. She wouldn't come to the door. And yet at times, caseworkers would go and not be able to make contact with Pammy May, and they would report that there were no safety concerns with Darnell Taylor, even though they never got to speak to Darnell Taylor. And they never got to speak to Pammy May. So city council's all over the, Immigrant Reform Commission, blah, 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 blah. We've had 2 5-year-old boys this year murdered who were in the system of Franklin County Children's Services. We had Micaiah Bryant, who was attacking a girl with a knife and had to be shot by a Columbus police officer. She was in Children's Services. City council do anything about that? Of course not.
Windy and colder, some snow and rain on Thursday, 1 to 2 inches possible. High 37. Cloud, breezy, chilly, couple of showers. Could mix with snow early Friday. Hi, Friday afternoon at 42. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary.
Limited time left. Are you ready to seize a unique investment opportunity that could save you in taxes for 2024 and help you secure your financial future? Goldman Sachs predicts oil to remain in the $79 range, so why not invest in the uptrend now? That's the sound of producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor with at least $100,000 in liquid assets, you can take it on Core Energy's exclusive project and a significant tax offer for 2024. But early stage limited time left this year to benefit from the incredible tax incentive. Imagine nearly 100% of your investment being deductible for 2024. Don't miss out on this limited time opportunity to create monthly income for up to 20 or more years to come. Call 800-278-7455 now and connect to a knowledgeable Encore Energy representative. Encore is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call Encore Energy now at 800-278-7455. That's 800-278-7455.
Dinesh D'Souza here. Have you heard about the new movie called Vindicating Trump, based on my book, Up to Campaign? The movie is a deep dive into the real reasons why the left and the Democrats hate Donald Trump so much. They're afraid Trump will dethrone them once again. So now they stand up to the tyranny of the left. Don't miss my no-holds-barred defense of Trump and Vindicating Trump. You can watch it now or buy the DVD. Go to salemnow.com, salemnow.com.
A Christmas Mortgage Miracle is back. For 7 years, 98.9 FM The Answer and the Christmas Mortgage Miracle has made it possible to win next year's mortgage or rate. This year, the grand prize is $18,000.
This is my pillow. Okay, thank you.
Even more chances to win. Receive this blessing from 2025 with the Christmas Mortgage Miracle Sweepstakes. Enter to win today at 989theanswer.com. That's 989theanswer.com.
The NLS Braille and Talking Book Program gives patrons the freedom to read their listen to those.
When I lost my son, the only thing I had was reading, and it was like therapy to me.
NLS has pretty much anything you possibly want to read. It's not recommended at all. It's a free service. It's amazing how much you can get.
I have used every means there is, I think, of getting access to National Library Service books.
If you want to read on Braille, you can. If you want to read on your phone, you can. If you want to read in heart rate, you can.
Every time the way they operate gives you a program is worth it. For more information visit loc.gov/enrollment or call 1-888-SRBA.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams. You can find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with trade professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
So I was down in the basement the other day, and I noticed something that my wife and I got for our wedding over 20 years ago that we've never taken out of the box. Now, it's a really nice gift. We've just never taken it out of the box. We never had a reason to use it, and we're not giving it away because, you know, someday we might use it. That's the danger when you go to give a gift, right? You want to give somebody a gift that they're going to use. Well, you don't have to worry about that if you get someone a MyPillow, because what does everybody do every single night? They go to bed, right? They want to sleep. They want to be comfortable. And the MyPillow is phenomenal. My sleep experience has been great since I purchased my own MyPillow 8 years ago. You will not pay nearly what I paid. I paid $80, worth every cent. I can wash dry it. I can flip it over and not, or I don't have to flip it over to find a cool side. It cradles my neck all night long. A standard MyPillow now at mypillow.com and use my promo code is under $15. King and queen pillows are under $20. Great gifts, or buy one for yourself. mypillow.com, promo code Bruce. So the liberal freakout on the left continues about Donald Trump's cabinet picks. So we'll have more on that in hour number 2 of the Bruce Hooley Show. But here's an under-the-radar cabinet pick that nobody is complaining about, and I'm glad. First, a quick quiz. Kids, what did I tell you this election was really about? That the consequential outcome of this election would not be, as painful as it is, inflation, would not be as indefensible as it is, and as dangerous as it is, illegal immigration, or as anti-biblical as it is, the United States' lack of support for Israel. The real consequence of this election would be if Kamala Harris won, we would eventually lose our freedom of speech. We would revert back to policies of the Biden administration that severely restricted free speech. They would go after Elon Musk, and Twitter is the last bastion of free speech. It is the town square. Here's an interesting piece of audio, and then I'll tell you about Trump's nominee to head the Federal Communications Commission, who has dedicated himself to expanding, which is to say restoring, free speech throughout America. But here's Harry Enton of CNN talking about the change in the makeup of people who use X, formerly Twitter under Jack Dorsey, now X under Elon Musk.
One of the big reasons he bought Twitter/X is because he wanted to make it his own platform, remake it in his own image. And I think this really gets at it. Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better. And more than that, John, look at where Mr. Musk's net worth is today versus where it was just 2 months ago. He is the richest man in the world by far. 2 months ago, look at this. His net worth was $252 billion. Look at where we are today, $314 billion. He is by far the richest man ever to be on this planet. So yes, he's not as popular. Yes, Twitter/X perhaps is not as popular, but it's a much different platform, one that more represents Elon Musk's, let's say, political instincts, and he is now a far wealthier man.
And I would add, Twitter now reflects, as Harry Enton said, the American electorate. And what does that tell you? People have flocked to Twitter, Republicans, because they were being shut out. They were being shadow banned. They were not allowed to say true things about the COVID vaccines. They were not allowed, the most famous example, to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop story. They were not allowed, in some cases, to protest illegal immigration or anything else the Biden administration did. If they went to certain levels. Look, the Nazi idiots in the short north, I don't dispute their speech is hateful. I don't dispute that it has no place in a civil society. But you cannot have anyone determine what speech is allowed and what speech is not allowed, because eventually, because men are so inclined, they will make their decisions based upon what advantages them or advantages their belief system. And so we have to defend hateful speech because it makes all speech possible. And the bad speech will be drowned out by truthful speech. The marketplace of ideas must be defended. Brendan Carr will do that. He is the pick by Donald Trump to head the Federal Communications Commission. He is the guy who's been a Republican on the Federal Communications Commission, but he's not been the top guy. And he's the guy I played cuts from a couple of months ago when George Soros was trying to buy radio stations, hundreds of them around the country in advance of the election to shape opinion. And Brendan Carr was saying, why are we green lighting this? A foreign purchase of this much of an asset to shape opinion in America prior to an election. There are procedures in place and we're violating them. Why? Because Soros was going to advocate for Democratic positions. That goes exactly right back to what I said, that if you make decisions based upon your political ideology and you advantage some speech over others, you are eventually going to lose the country that we've had. And you say, well, that's being histrionic. That doesn't happen. You're just inventing a worst case scenario, Bruce. You sound like a Democrat. Really? What do you think life is like in England? You say, well, you know, it's a little different than it is here, but England's a free country and England's committed to the same kinds of things that we are. And you sure about that? You sure about that? I just told you about the Columbus City Council Immigration Reform Committee, right, that they formed. And I just went on a extended rant about they care about immigrants, but they don't care about people in the city who've lived here for years and years and years, have been struggling with the same problems, poverty, crime, and other things. Think I could get away with that in England? You think so? Listen to what an English judge rendered as a verdict in a case against someone who posted on social media recently about just that topic, protesting the use of government resources given to immigrants in Great Britain as opposed to residents of Great Britain. They're in court. It's a crime. And listen to the sentence that they received for just posting their objection on social media.
Went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote. This offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
20 months, a year and 8 months, reduced by 1/3. You could have gotten 30 months, 2.5 years for simply posting on social media. I think it's a bad idea, or I'm vehemently against us using government resources to advantage immigrants as opposed to residents of whatever area of England this took place in. That's what was at stake in this election. We got a little window into how much the Biden administration engaged in shadow banning on social media and blocking things about the vaccine, things about the boosters, things about Hunter Biden, things about the Biden crime family. We got a little window into that because of a lawsuit, Missouri versus Biden. Last week, a judge in that case ruled that the Biden administration now has to make more documents available. We're going to get a clearer picture into exactly what they did. Oh, the mainstream media won't report it. The legacy media won't report it. Why won't they report it? Because they were complicit in it, because they approved of it. They wanted that censorship. But thankfully, with Brendan Carr heading up the FCC, with Donald Trump and Elon Musk committed to free speech, it is preserved for 4 more years. For 4 more years. After that, who knows? And I've said before, and I'll say again, if we ever lose the First Amendment in this country, if we ever lose the right to free speech, we lose the country.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss...
All right, Chuck. That is hour number 1 of the show. If you'd like to watch hour number 2, you can go to the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm sorry. You can go to the 9890 Answer Facebook page. Or you can go to the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page, just not my individual Facebook page. I know it's confusing. I know I'm a little off my game today. Started some new medication last night. So anyway, I ask your forgiveness for the mistake right there, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.